Hey folks, welcome to another episode of The Security Table. This is Chris Romeo, joined by my friends Izar Tarandosh and Matt Coles. The topic we have for today is imposter syndrome. And we hear about this a lot in the realm of cybersecurity, and we really just want to unpack it and understand what it is. And so let's get a definition going first. You guys know I like to define things early in the process, primarily so that I know what the heck we're talking about in my simple mind of understanding of whatever we're discussing at the moment. So Matt, why don't you kick it off for us? What is imposter syndrome from your perspective?
Yeah, that. So imposter syndrome for me is a second guessing of an ability. So why are you what makes you the expert, or what makes you qualified, even if you have the qualifications, feeling second guessing that, not having it's not necessarily not having the confidence, but just wondering, is this are you doing the right thing? Right. So it's not, I can't give a clear definition. It's sort of the sense that one gets when they're looked to for guidance or support or expertise, and they have the credentials. Pause here. So, they have the credentials, but they may not have the confidence. Not always have the confidence. All right, hold on.
I think I don't think I can give a definition, but I can give you the feeling, because I'm assaulted by it every single time. And I think that at some point I was in one of our many congregations, and I looked to one side and I had Brooke. I looked to the other and I had Adam. And I'm going, why the hell am I here? Who said that I could be here, and who said that I could say something? What is it possibly that could put me at their level in saying the things that are in my head? And I can tell you, sometimes it's debilitating, right? Sometimes just before a talk, for example. And this happened in OWASP Dublin. You can definitely hear on my voice in the recording that I'm physically, my voice is physically trembling. Because until you get into at least I do, until I get into the stride of things, the anxiety of why would these people stop their day to listen to me? What gives me the authority or the right to take up time and talk about these things to them? And it doesn't matter how many times you do that. It doesn't matter how much validation, like this, again, I'm talking personally, just me. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how much validation you get. It keeps coming up to you again and again and again and again. And I spent a long time thinking about this thing and asking myself what the hell is happening here, and talking to people who supposedly know about these things. And I'm very open with it, because most people that I talk with, they immediately go at, oh, you know what, I feel that too, or I feel that sometimes, or it happened to me at some point. So it's not it's not a, what's it called? Not humble brag, but it's not a, oh my God, I'm not worthy thing. Mm-hmm. It's actually I won't call it a mental health issue, I think, but it's actually a phenomenon, a mental phenomenon that happens to people all the time in all careers, in all places of life. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes back to one of our previous episodes. Only when you know enough to know how much you don't know, I think that you get assaulted by this thing. Mm. So it connects to, what's the name of the effect? Dunning-Kruger, that mm-hmm. you think that you know everything.
Yeah.
Only when you are in a position where you know how much you don't know, then you can question yourself and say, why the hell do these people would be willing to listen to me?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, Matt, from your perspective, if you're willing to share, how does it manifest, Izar gave an example of OWASP Dublin, and I was at that talk, and I don't remember, I don't remember that being a reaction. And I tend to be someone who watches people speak, listens to what they're saying, but I'm also watching just because I'm a student of public speaking, and I look for things other people do that I might be able to apply to my own world, or I look for things. And so I don't remember any of that. I don't remember any hesitation in your delivery or anything. I didn't perceive it from where I was sitting, and I was paying attention too.
Yeah, I think that those of us who have had episodes of of feelings of imposter syndrome, we have developed skills over time that helps to mask that, right? Or to adapt to that. So when I get senses feelings of imposter syndrome, it's often, so I'll say, just being in the Threat Modeling Manifesto group, right? So here we had, big names. We had Alyssa, we had Brooke, we had Adam, Izar, right? And so,
Chris.
and so this idea of like, well, what makes my voice valuable, right? Or am I going to say something stupid, embarrassing myself, and everyone's going to look at me like, oh, he's the least inexperienced, most inexperienced one of this crowd, so he doesn't know what he's talking about. So there's that aspect, but I think when it comes to like, especially conference presentations, right? I think we have adapted or cultivated a way to present without showing that level. Like there might be a running train of thought in the head, but you're able to project confidence in the presentation because we've done training and education, right? We've done, we've taught at universities and done corporate presentations and things like that in front of friendly crowds or not so friendly crowds, right? And so we've adapted those techniques to hide the internal dialogue to some extent. But I think imposter syndrome comes in from it's hard to describe it. I think as Izar put it best is really what puts us at the same level. And I want to be careful because we're not really at the same level. I mean, Adam, for example, is like the expert, right? He like effectively catapulted threat modeling into the security world.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that any of the people involved with threat modeling prior to that didn't do their parts, but Adam is the more recent example of that. And, now that, for instance, Izar and I wrote the threat modeling book, we're talked about in the same circles. And that's a little scary, right? But also a little validating, but it's hard to overcome that. Well, did I stumble upon that, or are my ideas valid? And there's some confidence building that has to happen there, right? So that's, I think that's the best way to look at this.
Yeah. Just to give you kind of my experience, I can't remember really dealing with this, and maybe I did earlier in my career, and I'm just at a point where I just don't remember. You remember the good things, you don't always remember. You remember the good things, the tough things, you don't always remember the challenging things in the same light, kind of how they came together. But I used to be deathly afraid to stand in front of a room of people and speak. I wouldn't early in my career, I would not do it. I would refuse to do it.
Yep.
And a friend of mine dragged me kicking and screaming into the process of stepping out on the stage. And throughout my time at Cisco, and then, getting me to RSA the first time and going through that process. And for me, the thing that I really came to understand was, and where I really became free speaking in front of a group of people, is when I realized I don't really care what anybody thinks about me. And it may sound like a harsh thing to say, but the truth is, and you guys have done a lot of talks, a lot of different conference talks, every room of people, let's say there's 100 people in the room. Okay. 10 people are going to think you're saying the best things on earth, and they're going to be taking notes, and they're going to be writing everything down. 10 people are going to think this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Who let this person talk here?
Wait,
And
only
the other
10?
80 people, the other 80 people in the room are just going to be like, I was there at that talk. I don't really remember anything momentous about it or whatever. And so for me, it was freeing when I reached that point where, and I shouldn't say I don't care. I definitely care about, I prepare. I want to deliver great talks for people. That's my goal. And, once in a while, maybe I get lucky and hit one. But, but when I realized like my worth doesn't come from what the people in the room think about me, it was so freeing because then I was able to just be myself. And you guys know, I like to goof around and I like to do that from the stage now too. And sometimes people don't laugh at all. And that's a really awkward moment because I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Why, that was funny. Come on, get up here and listen. But it was really that moment where I realized like, I can just be me. I can do my thing. And some people are going to love me. Some people are going to hate me. Most of the people are going to be like, I don't even remember him being there. Like, was I in the room for that?
So my first conference, my first public speaking talk that I really felt comfortable was mid 2000s, I guess it was, talking in front of a Fortify user forum, technical user forum. And I got up and talked about our experiences with Fortify at the time. And I was completely nervous because, I was representing a company, my company, where, here's what we did. And we did some really interesting things with Fortify at the time. And the one thing I remember is the crowd being very supportive, right? They were all in the same boat. And that helped to get over that fear of, well, am I going to say something wrong? Well, I can't say something wrong if it's a debate or a discussion, right? As opposed to instruction. And that really helped. But they weren't looking to me for direction. They were looking for discussion and debate, right? And now I have a lot of experience. My early career was with tech support, doing tech support for technology products.
He can say, have you tried turning it off and on in 3 languages?
I knew that was coming.
Usually you have to kick it first. So anyhow, I always prided myself on being capable of talking to people. I was very comfortable talking one-on-one and in small groups, right? Even today, influence without authority is a very powerful thing, right? But with that, the reason that you get there is projecting confidence and having your audience or your whoever you're talking to have confidence in your ability, right? Or trust in your ability. And while it's relatively easy to project confidence, right? Those techniques for how do you do public speaking, that we've learned over time, the internal dialogue you have to push back the internal dialogue a bit to say, like you're constantly second guessing the statements that you're making. So you keep the train of conversation going without having it go, well, and at some point you're going to say, well, I don't know. And that's okay. And you can say, I don't know with confidence, as opposed to, I don't know, I got to go.
Yeah.
Why am I here? Go talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. And I want to make sure, obviously, this is a security table therapy session to some extent. It's good to talk about these things. I think a lot of people in the security space probably suffer from this. Either they know it or they don't know it, that they suffer from it. Right. But, we're experts here, right? We're recognized. We have certifications. We've done presentations that we've delivered material, both in an academic and non-academic setting. We've proven that we collectively here have proven that we know what we're doing. We have to prove to ourselves that we're on the same stage as the people we're working with.
So I want to take a take a lift on that and sort of start by separating things. The public speaking part is extremely important, and everything that Matt said is completely right. And I think that preparation helps to mitigate the imposter syndrome. But that internal dialogue that Matt said that we are constantly fighting against or trying to shout over, that's the bit where the anxiety lives, right? Because that's especially for people with anxiety. That's a huge precursor. You start asking yourself a lot of negative questions, and people say that one of the first things that you should try is to like reframe those questions. Instead of why should I be talking to these people? You should be asking yourself, isn't it great that these people took time to come and listen to me? Mm-hmm. Right? Because they didn't come on a limbo. They came because apparently your abstract was good enough to convince them to come over. And while most public speaking people will say, hey, you have to rehearse. I myself, I don't rehearse my talks. Right? My new place of work, not so new now, they have internal rules that if you're going to present outside, they have a team that's willing to come and listen to your rehearsal and give you pointers and everything. And to me, that was a bit in the beginning. Now I absolutely see the value of it. But in the beginning, it was hard for me because I never give the same talk twice. I may say the same things, but it's never the same talk twice. I try to read the people, see how they're reacting. Oh, interesting parenthesis here. One of my first talks at AppSec Cali, I'm talking, and people all of a sudden take out their phones and start taking pictures. And my immediate reaction was, my fly is open. But then I noticed that they were actually taking pictures of the slides. So being aware of what your audience is doing and why, I find it's extremely important. But so I think that where I was going with this is that I find, especially in my personal case, that imposter syndrome is just like one piece of the puzzle. So the way that I came to work with it, not to solve it, but to work with it, is first of all, I accept it. It will happen. Just wait for it to kick. Then there's the fact that, if this audience came here, it's because they see some value in what you have to tell them. Third, as Matt said, sometimes it's shocking to look around at the rooms that I find myself with, the people that I find myself with, and the fact that sometimes they stop talking to listen to what I have to say. And the way that I'm looking at it is I am not authoritatively putting out something that people should just accept. I am having a huge opportunity to rent the time in the brain of a lot of very smart people to put out my ideas and let them poke at them. So it's not like I'm coming down with the 10 Commandments down from the mountain. No, I'm just walking around this mountain shouting stuff, and hey, you guys get to answer to me. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's less good. Right?
Yeah.
But mainly when I am presenting and when I'm with an audience and I start questioning myself, why me? It's not because I know more. It's not because I taught more. It's just because most of the times when it comes to the Q&A to the Q&A session, and people start asking me things, I can actually reach back in my history and say, I've been through this and this is what happened. Mm-hmm. So it's not what I know, it's what I went through. I am now in a place, especially let me be a bit honest here. I'm in a place of my security journey right now that a lot of people are just starting to go through now, and that has value. I can point at mines before they step on them.
Yeah, because you've been through it. You've got the experience. Yep. You've got the scars that go with getting smacked and falling on the ground, picking yourself back up, and that's wisdom. And
it may not give me authority, but it gives me value.
It gives you wisdom, right? Shit, experiences
And wisdom is value,
that
yeah.
you've lived through is something that you can then reflect to the next generation. And a lot of times people are still going to do the thing that we all did that caused pain, and they're going to be I don't believe you. I'm going to do it. Yeah, well, remember, well, come back and talk to me after it blows up, and just tell me that. Just say I told you, so I can say I told you so.
Well, it isn't just. I guess it isn't just the prior experience that you're able to relate, right? Because you use those as anecdotes for either using as anecdotes, you use them as direct references for. Well, here's some pitfalls. Watch out for them, right? Or here's some good things that happened. Look for those, or make those happen. It's also that we're able to. We have, and I say we, not just those of us, the three of us here, but others in a similar boat, have the ability to take very complex things and deliver the message in the right way to the right audience. Again, not making those 10 Commandments kind of statements, but helping others put that in their head, correlate that with other information that they have to make it. And we always say making informed risk decisions, but informed decisions, period. Mm-hmm. Right? That we can give that, our expertise isn't just thinking of interesting ways to do things, but also correlating a whole lot of information and providing that in a way that makes sense to people that they can then utilize in their day-to-day lives. Mm-hmm. Well, at least at work.
I want to unpack this a little bit deeper. I want to ask you guys a question based on what you've experienced, because I really don't know the answer to this. I want to understand from what you've experienced how you think about this. Like, if you break this problem down into two pieces and you say head versus heart, meaning intellectually versus what you're feeling. Intellectually, you both are very accomplished security professionals. You're authors, you're podcast hosts. Gotta work that in, podcast hosts. But you're conference speakers. You're all of these things. And so, intellectually, if you kind of separated it, if you can separate this problem and cut it in two, do you intellectually say, like, I don't have the chops to hang with the rest of these people that I'm hanging around with? Or is it more on the heart side of it? Like, it's more like I feel like I don't belong there. So, like, I'm just trying to unpack this and understand it in more depth.
Well, so let me give you some a thought that I get occasionally, and I don't know if it's intellectual or feeling, I guess. You can think about the luminaries that we've been with, but think about some of the people that you may converse with, in terms of, security experience, for instance, right? Where they have 8 times as many certifications as you, or they spent 20 years at the NSA, or have, a ton of experience, defending nation states, or have built, have been CISOs of major corporations, right? They have a ton of experience, a lot of letters after their name, a lot of, maybe they have a newspaper article, Bruce Schneier, kind of thing, right? I work with some of these people on a regular basis, right? Some of my close colleagues are like this. They've worked at CISA or NIST or DISA or NSA or wherever else, right? And we have a need to interact on a regular basis, and I need to be an expert, and they need to be an expert. And so, how do I compete with that? Like, I have a master's degree, I have a master's degree in computer science, and I wrote a book on threat modeling. And I have 20 years of experience, right, in corporate worlds.
So it sounds like you're intellectually. It sounds like you're on both sides of the equation. Then, it sounds like you're kind of thinking through, like you're intellectually saying, I feel like I don't stack up against these folks. And then I feel like I don't as well, is kind of what I'm taking away.
But I know that for the expertise that I have, I'm a partner in this.
Okay. So intellectually so that would be the intellectual side. That's what I'm trying to get to is there a way to separate this? But it's not. So you're saying, yes, on paper, you can look at their resume and experience and your resume and experience and say, yeah, I belong at the table in the conversation.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
But look how funny this is, because now comes like the outside aspect of the thing. There is a reason why Matt and I co-authored the book. And for the past...
Because he asked and I said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
There's a reason why I asked. And here's the reason. For the past, 11, 12 years, every time that I had an idea connected to security, that idea would not go forward before I went to Matt and I asked, hey, what do you think about this? Because I see him as the expert that he may not see himself, right? But that voice inside your head telling you, you're not worthy, you're not worthy, you're not worthy, okay?
Wayne's World.
That thing is shouting all the time. And you know what? No names. We know a couple of people, one who's a very, very prominent person in our field, who gets hit by imposter syndrome every single time that they are asked. And it's not something to question or to criticize or to keep saying, come on, you know how good you are, just step out of it, right? You cannot quieten that voice. It's not, as you put, it's not an analytical process. It's a feeling thing, and God knows that I'm not the most connected person to feelings, but it is. It's just something in you constantly asking you, what are you doing here? Now, in my experience fighting that, you can give into it, and then that's it. I'm sorry by what I'm saying, but you're screwed because you gave up and you're not getting out of it. But you can, at the same time, and I want to believe that that's what I do with it, you can use it to move you forward. You can use it to say, prove to yourself that you can be here. Constantly prove to yourself that you can that you can be here. Constantly ask questions, constantly say what you're thinking and expect answers. Because those people that you value, those are the ones looking at your ideas and riffing back to you and telling you, hey, you know what, there's value to this. So now you don't have to ask yourself, do I bring value? Because you have other people that you respect that are telling you, hey, there's value in this thing. So again, the choice is not to have it or not have it. The choice is how you deal with it.
Yeah, I see. So you've just kind of accepted the fact that this is going to be something you'll struggle with through your entire career. Or maybe not struggle. Maybe you turn it into a strength based on how you described it here. You're going to turn it into a superpower, and
that's the dream.
You're reflecting through it to your own success because you're using it to push yourself further. And
I want to believe that it also makes me better at communicating with people.
Yeah, I think we adapt to it. Yeah. Right. Sorry, Izar, good.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just, I think we adapt to it, right? I think we lean into certain characteristics of our role, right? I mentioned earlier about influence without authority. Like that is the basis for my work for the most part.
Yep.
Right. They're not, the teams that I work with and the people I communicate with, whether at work or at conferences or wherever, is really I need to be the expert, but I don't have a mandate. Like, it's not that they have to take my word as edict. Right. So I approach everything as a negotiation, as a conversation. I'm there to relay information and provide experience in a way that, like, they have a particular way of looking at things. I'm going to come in from a different angle to help them see it in a different way.
And to
And
facilitate.
and bring in that security experience and knowledge that they need from me.
Yep. Because
And-
the system itself, they know much better than we ever will. They are writing it.
Right. And so the imposter syndrome there it doesn't come into play so much there
Yep.
as when it's, you to a crowd or you to a
forum. Like to a forum of equals.
well, it's more interesting. I think it's even broader than that. So if you're looking at, if you start comparing yourself, if you're in a position that you would be compared with others, that's where imposter syndrome, I think, starts to come into play.
It's different levels of not authority, but I think that when you're in a board of directors, your opinions are much more pointed, and this is where I stand. This is my position, and it's going to be very hard to move me from it. When you're in a panel with other experts, I think that we, at least, when we do that, and I speak for the three of us, we come in open-minded and we say, I have my things to say, but you know what? I'm waiting to be convinced otherwise. And many times it happened even here in the podcast that I came one way and I left another, or at least with questions. And I think that I love people who go in front of an audience and present, and you can see that these people, damn, they're really good presenters. Like Chris is one, for example. He's in Dublin, he's DevOps thing. It was a masterpiece in presenting, right? The timing, the subject, the way that he pulled the public in, the way that he riffed with everybody, like the back and forth. I sat in there like I have no clue what he talked about because I was so much focused on how he was talking about it. On the other hand, there are people who have to like rehearse again and again and again and again until they have the whole script in their head. And some of them are good at it, some of them are not so good at it, but it's a way of doing it as well.
Before, just FYI, before Dublin, I had delivered that presentation probably 10 times.
You had to deliver, but you didn't sit in front of the camera recording it to yourself and then sawing it again.
It was out on the scene, but the jokes are canned in that, just FYI. Because over time you learn which jokes hit, and they just, I don't know, that's just the way my brain processes. If I can get a laugh,
showmanship.
If I can get a laugh, I'll drive to that laugh each time.
So I mean, what I'm trying to go at is, when you get that imposter syndrome, there are ways to fight against it. Some of them are more time consuming. Some of them apparently are more proven. But it is something that you like they say here in the US, in the military, you have to embrace the suck. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. So make peace with it, move forward or not, but don't let it stop you. That's my closing.
I like that. That's a good place to close. That's a good place to end this conversation. I don't think this is the last time we talk about this. I think we can come back around and talk about it some more. I think there's more to unpack and more to just learn. And
because after all, who are we to talk about this, right?
I knew that. I knew you could. See, you like canned jokes too. You like the delivery and set it up. And, that's right. So, hey, folks, thanks for joining another episode of the Security Table. And reach out to us on LinkedIn or X if you have any thoughts on imposter syndrome. We'd love to learn more from what other people have experienced. And so we'll launch a couple of social posts to try to get that conversation going. So we'll talk to you again soon on the Security Table.